Hello everyone, welcome to a new video. Today it's going to be a little bit special. It's not about a market update. Someone asked me if I could make a video showing how I face a completely new chart, right? Something that I have never taken a look at. And that's what we are gonna do this weekend, right? It's a slow price action, as usually on the weekends, but I believe when the euphoria and the real move comes, we won't have slow weekends, right? So let's try to relax, to rest, because we might have very interesting weeks ahead. So that that person, I don't really know who he or she is on Twitter. I only have the YouTube comment. Suggested, for example, Mara or Riot, or even some random charts like Disney or something like that. So I'm gonna start with Mara. First of all, it's not only in this case, it's not only about the charts, because obviously Mara is minor and it's related to BTC. So if you bet on Mara, it's because you bet on BTC. So it's not fully on the charts, but let's take a look at what we see here. First of all, let me just have I like to take a weekly perspective, right? I think it's a higher enough time frame to have a general perspective. First of all, this big drop I see, it was the COVID crash. Wasn't doing really well until then. It was a complete downtrend from its inception, but since then things are looking way better. In fact, well, if you believed, it is easier to see it now in hindsight, but if you believed in BTC, this was like a huge opportunity, because even though price crashed a lot, the first thing I see is that RSI didn't. Not even like these extremely oversold areas, which, by the way, again, I said a few times that if you're in a really downtrend, this doesn't mean an instant reversal, right? It might be for a time, for quite some time, but making a lower high and then a lower low, right? So it is difficult. But here, obviously, BTC ripped, and in just 1 year, pretty much, yeah, a whole year, it made like a 14x because BTC went crazy, right? The thing is, the first impression I have with this cycle is that it hasn't done much yet, which is interesting. The first thought I have is that it is lagging. That's the first idea. So to see that, to see if there is some relationship with BTC or some kind of lag, I'm gonna open the charts, and here you are. It's obviously lagging. We can see that it was before, it was like pretty much mimicking BTC, even front running a little bit. Pretty much the same here. Yes, following BTC, front running, but since this correction, it still hasn't. It didn't follow back here in this big push in Q4 for BTC, which is a bit shocking. I don't really know why this could be, if it's just lag or weakness, but I should assume that BTC pushes this should as well. But even the recovery isn't really reflected yet, right? Which, by the way, hello bears who think that BTC is having a dead cat bounce. The weekly chart, if we remove the wicks, we have the body candles. It's about to cross the highest ever, an all-time high daily close. I mean weekly close. Just saying, right? If you think this is a dead cat bounce, holy shit, that cat has legs. So back to Mara. I find this weird. This small push. I'm gonna hide BTC for a second. Barely like getting rejected here for the previous 2024 top, which if we open BTC, it should have surpassed it at least a little bit, but it was rejected, and it's making a new low here. I'm not sure about this, to be honest. We have big impulses, sizable corrections. It's a little bit hard to judge, but on a macro structure, we can say that we're more or less building, let's say, compression. It feels like price is being compressed, right? And since this is the weekly chart, yes, we can see perhaps some weakness here that could be reflected here. The clear bearish divergence here between the first top in 2021, the second one, boom, right? This weekly move, stock RSI wise, is running fast, but price is doing very, very little. 70%, well, very little in crypto terms, but it's a 70% move. But this compression, considering from the bottom in 2020, it's making higher high, higher low, but a lower low, a lower high, and a higher low. That's what makes this compression work for now. This could suggest a real strong breakout here. If it manages to break this, which probably would coincide with breaking, perhaps even here, right? With breaking this previous top, which was resistance, resistance, and resistance here. These could open the door to new all-time highs, at least surpassing 2021 in a huge run, which from here would be like 4 or 5x. Yes, with a 5x you already entering new all-time high territory. But since this is the weekly, this is a huge compression dating back to like a 4-5 year compression. I would need to now move, or I would move to the monthly and see if this compression tells me is reflected in the monthly, or if I see anything relevant here. And this picture is way more interesting, right? We can see compression pretty much holds. And in the monthly, it is about to cross bullishly again. The last time it did was here at the bottom. It held for a while, fake out here, and completely lost it here. But it is interesting that the RSI hasn't really lost the level while making a higher low. It is interesting. You could even argue that no, it's just yes, it's kind of a extended divergence, right? But again, higher low for the price, which is important, while RSI isn't really going down, right? The same thing, or kind of similar, happened here, right? You have these flat RSI while price was making a bullish divergence, right? Remember, this is regular when the price goes lower, and this is a hidden, right? Which normally, again, remember that hidden divergence being continuation, which for now reinforces the idea of testing at least this downtrend again. RSIMA is about to cross, fully reset in the monthly. The last time it really reset, printing again, you can see here, even a stock RSI, which is useful for these cases too, show the momentum going up, even though price didn't reflect it, right? This was the bear market bottom, the bullish divergence, which marks the reversal, the end of the bear cycle, same as BTC, right? And that's a good entry if you follow this, and if you believe in BTC, of course. Since then, it was an 9x from current level, like a 4x. I believe my bullish perspective would be it is lagging, right? So this could break. And let me tell you something, this is a huge monthly compression range, 5 years in the making. So all this lag compared to apparently lag, I mean, if we open the BTC monthly, it is obviously lagging. You could also argue that if it normally follows BTC and it hasn't yet, it could align with all the uncertainty and all the wall of water we have seen this whole cycle, right? No euphoria, which was here. No, everything goes up. It aligns. It makes sense. Have some confluence, right? So you could even argue that within these compression range, you could argue that these, since it's lagging, you could even argue this is accumulation, something like from here. You could argue that these some kind of accumulation range. This is a 5-year compression range. This could really, really explode. If you've been following me, you might remember the monthly. I'm gonna open it anyway to show you clearly what I mean. The monthly gold chart that I analyzed in some other video, right? This huge compression range. I mean accumulation range, right? Huge. We talked about this from the topping 2020 to the breakout here in 2023. 3-year accumulation, the range broke to the upside, and we had this blow of top move, which, by the way, really, really looks like it's pretty much over. RSI is at this level, monthly 86. This is something I would expect for BTC, right? 86 RSI, even 90, whatever, if we go full insane. Same for altcoins. Why not? Why not? This move was higher. I don't really care about the time frame, but since this is the monthly, this move was huge, was expected to be huge in terms of time and even extension, right? Imagine this is the 4-hour chart. Perhaps this move was just a few days, right? So here it was from February 24 to March, like a whole year. It's not surprising because it's been ranging for 3 years. So if you have that as perspective, we could say that this range has been for like 2 years within this huge compression range. This could really, really, really explode. I'm not thinking yet, considering this, how this structure is, no making no lower lows, not even higher highs. You could even say that RSI is also like in a range. The same for BTC on the weekly. Remember in the monthly, so far it hasn't even crossed the 70 RSI, something like that. It felt like a double top. And we have a full reset from the topping, this top here in the stock RSI in July 2023. This could really, really, really explode. And I'm not thinking about losing this range because we have this monthly candle holding this level, making a higher low. The only thing missing is a higher high. This could really, really explode. Seriously, if it manages to break this downtrend and reclaim this 30 level, I think it clear skies ahead. That's what I'm seeing with Mara. So far, I would now. I'm gonna use the moving averages just for more confidence. But for now, that is this is a huge compression, man. This looks like it could really, really explode. But I'm gonna use my favorite moving averages, right? This is the indicator I use, the 20, 50, 100, and 200. And then depending on the time frame, right? I stick to 20, 50 if it's weekly, or 200 if it's the daily, right? Both the exponential moving average and the simple moving average. So let's go back to the daily to have like a closer look time-wise, right? And if we open the moving average and we open the exponential and we open the 200. So far, as I apply the same logic as with any coin, being above the 200 is the key for explosive move. About the 200, you can clearly, wow, I mean, isn't this obvious and great? I really like charting. The thing is, look at this huge accumulation here in 2020 after the crash, in the COVID crash. beautiful accumulation. Remember when I said for BTC, the launch pad that could be when the price hovers around the 200. Bear market, fake out, rejected, couldn't hold until the trend changes. It breaks really strong, but it comes down. People could say, holy shit, this is a huge drop. What is this? But trend wise, it's just a retest. What was really not very normal was this huge breakout. So the retest was expected, nothing out of the ordinary. Then we have boom, and the huge run. The retest unholding of these 200-day moving average back in summer 2021, double bottom. That great for continuation. And the moment you lose it and it gets rejected, it's over until it gets reclaimed again. So far it's toying around with it, and now it's attacking the 200-day moving average again. Once this is reclaimed, I think it will pop to attack this 30 area we have seen. So with all that I have seen so far, I mean, it is a risky move because we are trying to anticipate what looks like a bullish scenario, but there is more upside as well. So I think this is looking good. In fact, this, like the cherry on top, you could say that this is an inverse head and shoulder. Well, it's not that you can say it is. Pretty much textbook, actually. So you know what's next. This would coincide with reclaiming the 200-day, right? You could extend it here. So this is the neck. It is reclaiming this. This looks really, really good the more I analyze it. So very, very good chart. If I open RIOT, which was the second suggestion, I think the picture, first of all here, the picture looks similar. Perhaps it is doing worse. But on the daily, we could pretty much say this is a huge W bottom, right? The same way we saw with BTC, a potential M top. This is a W bottom, pretty much respecting these levels. This is a good accumulation area, in my opinion. This was really, really good, right? And if we go to the weekly, the picture is similar. We remove this, and we're gonna do the same as we did with remove everything as we have done with Mara. Open stock RSI, open RSI. I'd like to post, and again, breaking here. This is pretty much doing the same thing as Mara, which is not surprising, to be honest. They're both miners after all. Kind of a similar compression range. You could say this is accumulation. Some people would say this is distribution, but distribution is such a, like this mid range doesn't make really much sense. And the uptrend, the trend, sorry, has really, really changed. Because if we just take a look at this, right, you can see that this is clearly a downtrend, right? And this one was broken here, made a new low here, but again, this was the COVID crash. RSI again, never going below this level. Not even here, not even here. And now again, the same kind of, you could even draw it from here or from here, whatever you want to draw it, right? It's kind of a compression range again. Looking good, looking good. If you again believe in BTC and potential run, monthly again about to cross, RSI, stock RSI looks a little bit different because it had this impulse. but you can even argue, yes, this is kind of a bullish divergence here with momentum. It could break this downtrend in an explosive manner like it did here. I think they are lagging. I want to believe they are lagging. The thing is, if BTC decides to retrace big time, this could really look bad for this. But I think this is one of those risky bets that could really, really pay well in the future. And you look back again, and months later, and you see, shit, it was here. It wasn't looking that bad, right? It was making higher lows, which is sometimes more important than higher highs, because you can, even though if you don't confirm with a higher high, the moment it retraces, if it manages to make a higher low, that shows a strength, at least for bottom, like a bottoming process, or a clear change in the trend, right? This is a higher high, but this it isn't. The key was making this higher low, which adds to this compression, right? So I think this is lagging, which is what the compression is hinting. This could really, really explode. I hope for now these analyses are good. I would perhaps need to take a look at something else, or if from my perspective, I could just put some little money on this, kind of a small cap, like a risky play that could really explode. And if I get a 5-10x out of it, great, but not my main bet. That's my approach. And you also have to have in mind for the future that the monthly RSI, more or less, it seems to be in this tight range. I mean, above 90, it's a good moment to leave. That's what this data is suggesting. Yes, here I didn't even reach, it was 81, but if we see some kind of strong move like real top in 2021 or 2007, sorry, before the crash, I think this is a good, if we get there, I think this is a good sign to start unloading. So we remove all this and we go and check Disney, for example. Well, hello there. This is the monthly chart. The first look I see with Disney in such a huge time frame is that these lows have been respected since 2020. Revisited several times, big bounce from here. The monthly just crossed. You could even argue there's a bullish divergence here with the stock RSI. And now it is pretty much stuck in this range. This is the top range. You could even argue it's a deviation, twice actually, but it's been in this huge range pretty much for a decade now, with this huge pump here in 2021 with the whole market. Now it's perhaps it is underperforming. How could I know? Perhaps comparing it with SPX. SPX made a higher low here. Disney didn't, and SPX printed real strong leg near to high, while Disney is just in this range. Would you say this is accumulation? Well, if I take a look at RSI, we can see that these from this huge top in 2015, which marked this new range, it's been in a downtrend, right? However, things seems to be shifting and entering a new uptrend. However, price has not reflected that yet. It's been in this range. So could we say this is some kind of accumulation, right? This is a very action that ended up in here, but the bounce has been strong. Could this be a huge accumulation here with a potential explosion above? This is the monthly. Remember that, right? It could be. It could well be. Let me remove everything and go to the weekly to see how this cycle is going. It's entering a new, it has entered with these very, bullish cross, RSIMA cross, huge candle here. 20% is this week. That's really, really strong. But the thing is, even within this cycle, it is still stuck here. Yes, the same range. And this whole cycle, we could say that it's being in accumulation. I think this is what this chart is telling. Perhaps this ends up being just an underperforming asset, and the SPX really tops, and this does nothing. But so far, you could argue that 2021 was a deviation of this huge range, and it could really, really explode. If this level is broken, like 123, I don't think it will take much, and you can have this intermediate area before all-time highs. Would you say, if you've been following my work, I posted recently that SPX oscillators, especially stock RSI, which shows momentum, the oscillators have completely reset. They got to bear market levels, and if SPX recovers and pretty much brings like a new, I'm not gonna say cycle, but let's say monthly or multi-week cycle, as the oscillators have completely reset, they are as in a whole bear market. The difference is it didn't take a whole year, just a few months, because it was really sharp. That could align with these just being in an accumulation phase. And what we have seen with Nvidia and some other outliers is just early outperformers. And we haven't really seen the strongest move of the cycle yet. Because what I see here is, if this was really weak, it would be making lower lows. That's my interpretation. Again, we just see data and then we interpret and bet on that. But this looks like a strong accumulation. You can see that it didn't break here. It didn't even broke below this 2023 level, which was the COVID crash level. So I think this is a huge high time frame bottom for Disney. So buying here, even if it takes time or another cycle or whatever, I think this low will really remain. It's been holding since 2014. So perhaps in the future, if you look back and say, holy shit, anyone buying here in this range really made it. It was like a 10 years, a whole range to accumulate, right? Because if it didn't crash in 10 years with COVID, with everything that's been going on, why would it do now? What do we need to see? What could happen to see such a big crash? I don't see that now. I think this bottom range is well defined. If you hadn't been here for this COVID crash, perhaps it would have been like a more clear trend, perhaps another retest here, and then you climb back. But I don't think it is a coincidence that this huge bounce happened at these levels. I don't think it is a coincidence. It's a resistance turning into support. 4 times, pretty much 5 times in a decade. And since 2022, 3 kind of times resistance. The moment it breaks, it could really explode on the monthly, suggesting that there is a real possibility. Monthly has been very good for Disney so far. But let's see it when it's ready to move. Perhaps it needs that kind of blow of top move for SPX and for all the markets that some people have been calling for months. Perhaps that is what is still left, even though people don't believe that because they think SPX is really overextended, right? Because let me just take a quick look to SPX. Again, this is the monthly. This is what I meant. Completely reset. Bear market lows. Bear market. I mean, oscillators wise, this has so much room to go from 50, 60, it is now, to, I don't know, even here, 88, 80, something like that. Last time it was around here before the big move. The SPX, it was, let's say, around here, this candle. Even if we wait for the divergence, with a 38% move until the divergence, we take that now. Couldn't this align with a blow of top move? Would it really be that crazy, considering how these monthly, remember, monthly oscillators look? Would it be this crazy? By, I don't know, next year, later this year, whatever. I don't think chart wise it looks crazy. I would think so if this was like at these levels. I wouldn't perhaps expect such a big move, and even from these levels, which was a real perfect retest here, saying that this breakout, this was a new trend. What if we see that again? Break, a reclaim, and another push, a break, a reclaim, and another push. I don't think that's crazy, and the Disney chart suggests this is accumulation. Looks really good, actually. I like what I see. Let's open Tesla, which is a company I'm really interested. I have a Tesla and I really love what they're doing. And I haven't really charted this yet because next cycle I will probably stick to BTC and move to stocks probably. So if I take a look at the monthly, we can see that here in 2024 it broke and started this new monthly cycle, lost it, and now it's about to tries to reclaim with the stock RSI calling up again. No divergences inside, whether bearish or bullish. We had them here, 1 and 2. This is the monthly. It's really difficult to write this, to hold here and just think that this is not the top and this is the top. I would have completely sold here. And the irony is you sell here and you just see lower targets only in the bear market. Even if you held here, you're now at the same level. You haven't really lost money. This chart looks huge, by the way. This structure is tremendous. And if I go first to see the higher lows, the structure, this is the bottom. For RIOT waves enthusiasts, this could be like a textbook move with the final push waiting. And if I open the you can see the close here. I don't really like the wicks, but the body close, right? Especially this is the monthly. I don't think it is a coincidence that it closed or just managed to slice through it a little bit through all-time high, but then making a higher low. This is continuation in my opinion. And if you see where it bounced with the type of wicks you had here, rejection, resistance, right? Support. I think this structure is really strong. I think what Tesla has done so far is creating a new range here at the top. this was previous bottom, right? Pretty much like this initial rejection more or less acted as support here. Not many data points, right? But this is the support now, high, low. And the thing is, it is a new range. It has reclaimed here, broke, retest, tried to break the all-time high, couldn't. Monthly was really, really overheated, even though RSI wasn't. That's why I like to combine both. Because RSI perhaps is not really, really strong, but stock RSI says it's time to cool off. And what I think about this RSI not even crossing 70, it is that perhaps the biggest impulse is still pending. Historically we see Tesla has really run. I mean, it doesn't have like a much history here, but pure euphoria has been above 70. I mean, comfortably above 70. This looks really good. This is the monthly chart, so you need to wait a lot for it to unfold. But perhaps in the monthly chart, we're talking about Q4. This is around Q4, November, October. This would be Q4, which aligns with BTC cycle, 4-year cycle, the potential top on Q4. The same for SPX if we have these new, as I said, this new monthly run, right? It could really extend into Q4 easily, even if it just doesn't get that far. I think market makers and all the political interests have really got their goal, which is making people doubt from the very bottom of this bull market. SPX is really high compared to the bottom here. At 78%. And people were doubtful the whole way. There wasn't euphoria, just perhaps in some names like Nvidia. But we went really high without euphoria, and now we're completely reset, and people wondering if it's just a dead cat bounce. It is. I find it astonishing how they can manipulate psychology, make you like take advantage of our fears, and they know as humans we prioritize fear. And we think it's more realistic, right? To be afraid, to be somehow pessimistic. That's the reality they have shaped for us, right? Life is a constant struggle, so being pessimistic is being realistic, right? There is no room for dreams for us, right? And I think this is what it's been reflected here while they've been accumulating and making so much money. But this chart, again, how I cannot be, I mean, not even close to being bearish here. There's nothing bearish about this. In fact, it's showing strength. Every time the monthly really curled up, I mean, here, lower highs and lower lows. This is a novice downtrend, but these first high low, if you want to risk and not wait to the break of the MA, this was the change in the trend. And then even this, after this correction, this low wasn't beaten. This was really big. This is another intermediate support level, confirming that, okay, this is a new trend. This was like a new accumulation area, broke, new accumulation area, about to break again with a higher low. Higher low. I don't think this has ended at all. And I will come back to this video later, perhaps in a few months, and see how it did, because I think it's really interesting. I really like what I'm seeing here, and this is how I face my charts. For now, I don't even need to use the moving averages, because just horizontal structure and then oscillators is what I see. And the higher the time frame, the stronger the move, in my opinion. Weekly break, like it did here. Last time it did, after a correction, it was here, and since then it did like almost 200% move. Not 200% move from this bottom would make it like another higher high. Perhaps comes here to make this the all-time high as support, and off we go again. monthly wise, there is room. Weekly wise, perhaps we would need to rest here, which is what I have just suggested. But that's when I go to the monthly chart and see, okay, is this cycle over? Or can I play, or can I expect another weekly cycle? That's when I move to the monthly cycle. Sorry, to the monthly chart, right? And again, I don't need the moving averages, but I'm going to use them to see if there is even more confluence, right? This is the weekly. So I open this. And the first thing I see is that the 50, which is something, the 20 and a 50 is something I use, right? Bull market above it, bear market below. This bull market broke above, reclaimed, lost it. This trend, weekly trend, was over. Find a new bottom and now attacking again. And what do we see so far? Bouncing from the 50 and being rejected by the 20, pretty much like SPX. If it is reclaimed, which is very, very close, to be honest, I think it is pretty much so above, right? Well, if it's reclaimed, I think we are ready for a new weekly leg. I really like what I see. I don't need to see anything else right now. But would I enter now? What is my time frame? That's the next question. Do I want to play the next weekly cycle? Then I would wait for perhaps for a reclaim and a retest. Do I play the monthly? Holy shit, this looks great. Look at this perfect bounce here. Monthly wise, long term wise, I would be here. I mean, this perhaps I didn't buy the bottom here. I believe this will act as the higher time frame bottom, right? I missed these like a 60% move, but in the future, something like that. I don't know. Even if it's these crazy swings, I don't really care if I bought here or not. It's like around 300. I think it's a very good bet for the future. This chart looks really good. And again, in the monthly, you could argue that this is like a macro range. And even here, you could argue that this is the top of this macro range. And everything you buy here could be really good in the future. I really like what I see. Well, I don't want to make this video longer. I'm just gonna finish with an update. I'm gonna remove all this. I don't want the moving averages. I want my classic oscillators. Look at the monthly already looming here. Lovely. We go to the daily holding strong, perfect bounce. I said that the best scenario for the 4-hour would be to chill while holding the price. It's even holding the EMA. Beautiful. I said sideways, right? But it's even doing better. But be careful. This is Saturday, and Saturday we normally see some scam pumps. But again, when things get going, there are gaps, and off we go. And so far, it's threatening to keep climbing. But be careful because it's still going down. So I don't really trust this move yet. I want to see it fully reset. Perhaps it doesn't fully reset. It starts here. It looks great. I really like what I see. This is Magnificent Beast. This is like, it's still time for keeping climbing. We might be around here, right? The last time, again, about 70 fireworks. So last time was this levels was here, right, in this candle, which again looks similar to this. So we might have another big explosion from here to the real top, and the divergence, the double divergence, was another 40% move. Let's say we have another 40% move, something like that. Real good. I think we have around 130k. It's another fib level that I posted on a different post on Twitter. If we enter price discovery, I will start drawing Fibonacci, playing around the weekly, and trying to see where it could stop next. But again, don't don't try to stop such a beast, because when it starts moving, it really does, as we have seen. Perfect scenario. If you remember, I posted this kind of path, but BTC has even been stronger. The path has been sideways, sideways, and up we go. No time, no place for people waiting. Another pullback, another pullback. So what if now, instead of coming back here to 98, we just hold 102, and we kind of make like another straight move, right? Like something like this, and then off we go again, sideways. And when we start moving there, right, we perhaps the next impulse really start printing the various divergence, right? And we might think about taking profit, because perhaps by then the weekly is around here again. It is 64 now. It hasn't even crossed this huge acceleration area that I said about 70. It looks great. It looks wonderful. So I hope you find this video useful on how I face new charts. And again, remember that I'm more like a weekly swing trader. I just make a few trades over a whole year, and I try to position myself like a cycle-wise, right? But within the cycle, if I see enough signs to rotate, to sell and unload potentially later, I will always do that. But the thing is to get the most out of it, and then load heavily at the bottom of the next bear market. And to spot the bear markets, I will take a look at the monthly, the weeklies, and bullish divergences for reversals, very oversold levels, things like that. Trying to find bottoms the same way we have found these bottoms here on the weekly and the daily and stuff. But for the bigger time frame, it would be weekly and monthly. Load heavily there and just relax for the next cycle. So I will keep you updated, as always, if I find something useful and relevant. And until then, have a nice weekend. Bye.